race through this next, but we're going to give you a list of where you can find all this information. But let me just recap, and then we're going right into what's happening. First, the intelligence community teaches a little formula for pulling off a successful coup in a foreign country. They call it the 3 M's. Before the CIA could even attempt to assist in a foreign coup, they had to ensure that they had control of the 3 M's: media, military, and a whole lot of money. Now, I want to make it clear, I'm not saying the CIA was involved in this, but you saw this play out recently to a T in the recent coup attempt in Turkey. The coup was driven by a large faction of the military, First M. Soldiers then seized newspaper outlets and even took over CNN, media. The coup sympathizers had plenty of money. That's what drove Erdogan to begin seizing the banks. It is very simple, but it is effective. But that isn't enough to take over America. This is how violent coups go down in foreign countries. And it's interesting how all 3 steps appear on my chalkboard that I drew up about 2007 or 8, when I realized we are being trained, we're going to go into revolution. How do we stop it? What do they need to take over? So I made these categories after speaking to several very educated people who are currently hiding out in universities. But these are the things that are needed by radical actors to pull off a successful revolution and upend a country like ours. I have the media, just like the CIA, the 3 M's. You control the flow of information. The left has already dominated this step. I can't believe what they're asking us to deny, what we see with our own eyes. And they have everybody: MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, the Washington Post, all of them. Independent outlets like Blaze TV, basically all that's left. You go to Fox? Okay, well, Roger Ailes left. Not the same network, good thing and bad thing. Not the same network. Rupert Murdoch is 89 years old, and his family isn't real conservative. I think the only one that's really putting the puzzle pieces together is Tucker Carlson. And the newsroom is exactly the same as CNN, and I know it because I worked there. I also grouped Hollywood in this first one because some people don't watch the news. They listen to Cardi B. Pretty much everyone watches TV and movies. And you can't indoctrinate just through the news. You have to get to the culture first. It leads. Democrats have infiltrated and dominated Hollywood forever. And the bias is painfully obvious. But have you seen how different television is? You can't even watch an award show anymore. You can't watch anything. Events like the Oscars and the Emmys, they're full of the left's. It's like a extravagant, leftist tent revival. But all the shows are doing the same thing. You control the flow of information and you control the culture, and you can direct the narrative. You also have to ensure that you can indoctrinate the young and the vulnerable. That's why you also need education. Progressives have been infiltrating colleges and universities since the turn of the last century. A new study published by the National Association of Scholars found the ratio of Democratic professors to Republicans is 12.7 to 1. And those are Republicans. I don't even know if they believe in the Constitution. They are indoctrinating young adults who then go out into the workforce. Many of them become school board officials, union heads, and teachers. I just spent 2 weeks exposing Marxism, Black Lives Matter, critical race theory, all being taught now in K through 12 schools. How is it happening? They are backed up by powerful, powerful unions. The most powerful union in the country is the National Education Association. It's the largest in the country. The next is the government. You have to have some players inside. Democrats already control the House and the radical wing of the party, rapidly pushing it further to the left. We're not talking about Democrats or liberals. We are talking about Marxists and leftists that want to overturn the Constitution. Now, that party, the Democratic Party, is gone. They're a Marxist party now. They have no spine against the Marxists, but they lack the Senate and the executive branch. But elements of the liberal deep state, or the Marxist deep state, are picking up the slack. The State Department was using a Soros-linked media tracking tool to monitor conservatives and Trump allies. And all of this, not to mention what the DOJ, FBI, and CIA was doing to Trump. I also have the military, and I'm going to come back to this. But multiple former high military brass have already come out publicly against Trump. In fact, one of them was, why aren't we using the Insurrection Act to stop what's happening on our streets? Well, you immediately had the Secretary of Defense come out and say, no, I'm not going to do that. That's just too far. Really? Have that conversation in private with the president. Why was that so open? And let's do this. The former military. Do you remember Lieutenant Colonel Vindman? We now know who he was. Oh, there was not the whistleblower. No. He was the whistleblower that started the impeachment fiasco. This was an attempted coup from within the military. Next is money. For socialists to get everything they need, they've got to have unlimited supplies of money. Well, not to worry, the coronavirus is giving them everything they could have ever dreamt of. You have the Fed, now the largest landowner. I've shown you in my specials on both Event 201, the coronavirus war game, and the Great Reset. This virus is providing all of the tools to turn capitalism into a form of national socialism, if you will, or Chinese communism. Have you seen what the Fed is doing? After all is said and done, the coronavirus response is projected to exceed $10 trillion. And people are starting to say it out in the open right now. The Fed is moving towards modern monetary theory. I believe they're already there. It's the belief that governments with sovereign currencies can print or coin money to support full employment or essentially any government program they want. When they've shut down all of our restaurants and our businesses, where are you going to get your money? Don't worry, from a Fed bank. It goes against every sane economic model in the history of debt. Does it mean nothing? What about inflation? Nothing. Are we the science deniers? Modern monetary theory is how they plan on creating the ultimate centrally controlled authoritarian welfare state globally. Now, you know why they continue to say we need to lock everything back down? Because of that. They must have it collapse. This is not my theory. These are facts. Go to the World Economic Forum's website itself and look up the Great Reset. They need also control over the police. What do? You got to gut the police. You can't have the police and the sheriffs being the last line of defense. This is why, one part of the reason why Black Lives Matter exists. BLM hits the streets and the mainstream media perpetuates the lies that all the police are racist. Democratic lawmakers then have the leverage to push things like defunding and disbanding entire police departments. They're crying out now in Minneapolis. What do we do? We're calling the police. They're not coming. Of course not. If that strategy fails, George Soros, while simultaneously funding Black Lives Matter, is also quietly buying up district attorneys all over the country. They're undermining police and completely overhauling the U.S. justice system. We've done these shows all year long. But none of these things are doable unless you have bottom-up street movement. They need people causing chaos. They need protests. They need riots. This is why almost zero Democrats in the media have condemned the rioting. They won't speak out on Antifa. They sure the hell won't speak out and condemn BLM. It's why the media isn't doing anything. It's how Wisconsin rioting can be called mostly peaceful, despite it burning down to the ground on television behind the reporter. Along with the media in Hollywood, they also need social media. Do I even need to go through that one? Google, Facebook, YouTube? When was the last time a prominent member on the left was censored for anything? When was the last time they were shadow banned or kicked off a platform? Some are doing it blatantly out in the open, like Twitter, doing their own fact checks. Well, their own liberal bias, of course. Others, like Google, are doing it quietly. As I exposed with Robert Epstein, Google is trying to manipulate your vote and the way you think without you even knowing it. Look at all of this. The left controls every single step to pull off a successful revolution. But that's my chalkboard. My chalkboard. And it ended with compliance. You have to have a compliant people, not a people that will stand up, not a people who will be the Tea Party and go out. But no, you need a compliant people. And with COVID, you're wearing the mask. You don't want to wear the mask. You're not saying anything. They've put you out of business and you're not saying anything. They're telling you that your kid can't go back to school, as if we don't understand that there's been 5 kids in the whole world that have died from this? It's insanity. Our churches, the First Amendment gives you the right to go to church. Our churches are closed. Why? They got to get you to be compliant, because then you can steal the country. Just look how easily we are willing to comply on everything. How easily the Bill of Rights was just shredded over a virus with a 99% recovery rate. The defeat of Hillary Clinton escalated their plan into revolution. It went into overdrive in 2017, and it will culminate this November. It's a multi-step process. In fact, it's 7 steps, and we're seeing it go down week by week, day by day. And the closer we get to November, the closer they get to pulling it off if you don't know about it. As I said earlier in the show, color revolution is about what they're doing. It's what they're good at. They literally wrote the book beginning with the Arab Spring. We'll show it to you next.